Put Premier Li's trip into context. Let's turn to Victor Gao, the director of the China National Association of International Studies. Victor, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let me begin with this currency swap agreement between China and Chile. What does it mean exactly, and how soon will it take effect?
Well, by now, China has already similar currency swap agreements with about 2,000 countries. And this is the latest addition to that very impressive list. Now, the currency swap will allow both countries, in this case, China and Chile, to use their own currency to do the trade with each other, rather than, for example, having to convert their own currency into US dollar, do the trade, and for the other country to having to receive the US dollar and then convert into its own currency. Now, this will be very efficient in handling the bilateral trade, and also it will reduce the cost eventually, and also enhance the predictability of the overall volume and the stability of the bilateral trade. So this has proven to be a very effective way of using each other's own currency to promote bilateral trade between the pair of the countries. And I hope in this case, both China and Chile will benefit significantly from the currency swap agreement.
So, Victor, when will this actually take effect?
Well, I think theoretically, once the two central banks agree to do this arrangement, it will take effect immediately. That means, for example, as far as Chile is concerned, they will have a pool of renminbi at its own disposal. So they can use the renminbi to pay for the goods and services they buy from China. As far as China is concerned, they will have a pool of Chilean currency to pay for the goods and services they eventually will buy from Chile. Now, this allows both China and Chile to use their own currencies to do the bilateral trade. So I would say that it will take effect immediately, allowing companies and institutions in each other's countries to use the currency of the other country to promote bilateral trade. This is very good news for the corporates in both countries.
So, Victor, let's talk about the overall trip so far, Premier Li Keqiang's. In your opinion, what has been the biggest achievement for China?
Well, I would say while the whole world is focused very much on China's big initiative of One Belt, One Road, which is more or less of a Eurasian concept, Prime Minister Li Keqiang's visit to the 4 Latin American countries demonstrated to the world again that China's focus is not purely on Eurasia. China is also very much engaged with Latin America for this trip, as well as in Africa, as other trips have demonstrated. Therefore, I think the engagement between China on the one hand and these 4 major Latin American countries, but also South America in general, will continue to expand. And this is mainly because China now is already the largest economy in the whole world, surpassing that of the United States if we use the purchasing power parity. And the growth rate in China is still around 7% annually, much higher than that of any other major economies in the world. Therefore, I think the Latin American countries, these 4 countries in particular, and other South American countries will benefit definitely by engaging with China and the northeastern part of Asia, or the Asian part of the whole world trade. And I think this trip also demonstrates to promote bilateral trade is not just empty talk. You need to build up connectivity and infrastructure. You also need to build up financial arrangements like the currency swap, like the renminbi settlement arrangement with the China Construction Bank. And also, you need to build up mutual political confidence and trust. This is a total package deal. It's not just one piece which can operate by its own. It demonstrates that China and Latin American countries really need to put their wisdom, vision, and courage together to break out for a new path of growth, which definitely will be based on mutual trust and mutual benefit. This is the lesson that I've learned from this very important, long, 4-country Latin American trip by Premier Li Keqiang. Very successful.
Victor, I got to ask you about the EastWest Railway across South America. So much discussion about that. And it appears this is one step closer to happening after the government in Peru agreed to study this proposal. How realistic is this railway?
I think based on China's experience and the great track record of building railways throughout China and through very, very difficult terrains, and also in many areas the terrain situation is even harsher and more difficult than that in the continental railway from the Pacific to the Atlantic coast in Latin America. I would say, technically speaking, engineering speaking, in terms of controlling the cost, in terms of protecting the environmental situations, I would say there should be no problem. And I think this continental railway mainly links in the first phase Brazil and Peru from the Atlantic coast all the way to the Pacific coast. Financing-wise, I think China, together with all the other countries involved and international financial institutions, will be able to bring up a package of financing to get it done. So I would say we are at that threshold, very exciting threshold, where this mega deal, again, will become a first step, a conceptual reality, and then hopefully through several years of hard work, it will become a reality again. This will really provide a major connectivity for the whole landmass of Latin America, allowing countries and people to move goods from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific coast and backwards. So this will be a major, major thoroughfare, allowing the free exchange of goods and services between the two coasts of the Latin American country. This, I hope and truly believe, will be the biggest engineering work in Latin America after the completion of the Panama Canal more than 100 years ago. This is an exciting moment for Latin America and for the whole world.